Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 25, The Sound of Her Voice. The Defiant rushes to save a Starfleet captain stranded on an inhospitable planet.
Another episode involving time travel, sort of.
Yeah, this is kind of a back-to-back time travel pair of episodes, although this one, the time travel is kind of an aside.
It's not thrust in our faces.
Not particularly. In fact, I don't know why they bothered with the time travel plot at all.
Well, how would it work without it?
They could have just got there too late.
Oh, yeah, same result. But there's a different feeling for rushing to do something when it was impossible all along. Whereas if they just got there too late and they had a chance, you look at it differently, maybe, once you find out you failed. Because they were 3 years too late. There was no way they had any chance there.
That's a fair point. The whole quest was kind of pointless from the start. So, yeah, okay, the time travel does make a difference. I'm not sure what difference it makes dramatically, but it makes some difference. What did you think of this episode overall?
I thought it was pretty good. It's a good non-event episode. Nothing huge happens. There are no revelations or anything, but it's solid. What about you? What did you think?
I like this one a lot. It's actually one that benefits from rewatching. Or at least I think it benefits because there's a kind of a twist at the end. So whenever there's an episode with a good twist or a movie with a good twist, it's always different on a rewatch.
So this time you watched and you knew they were all dead all along.
Well, not all of it. Just Lisa Cusack, not no one else.
No, they're all dead. That's how twists work.
Oh, right, yeah.
There was a moment in this episode that kind of felt like it was mocking me for my prediction that was incorrect. When OBrien is talking at the end and he says something about one day someone will be missing from that circle. As he's saying that, it cuts to Dax and Worf. And I thought, you're making fun of me because I thought she was going to die at the beginning of the season.
That's a very specific thing to pick up on. I don't think that they put that shot in because they thought someone might have thought she would die earlier on.
It's the only explanation.
Well, I'm glad that you have taken your predictions so seriously. This was a nice character episode. It had a lot of Sisko and Bashir and O'Brien kind of introspection stuff. Turns out O'Brien is quite messed up, as we've long suspected.
That was good to see that these characters have awareness. I really liked all of that stuff.
She criticized Bashir's bedside manner, which is something we've also done many times.
Yes, over and over.
And addressed that Sisko is kind of nuts for war.
He was so excited to be a hero, or to be labeled as one.
Well, yeah, he's the best. The sooner people start acknowledging it, the better.
When O'Brien is taken by her voice and listens to her nonstop in the beginning, I thought we were heading toward some awful thing about O'Brien's fast. I always think something bad's gonna happen to him because it does. I thought maybe this was the voice of someone he knew that died, and then this is, I don't know.
Well, that's accurate.
Wait, he knew her?
Yeah, well, he got to know her, and she also died.
Oh, yeah, I guess it sort of is true.
We just had a O'Brien torture episode, so I think he's off the hook for a little while.
That would be so mean, back to back.
Oh,
He doesn't get off easy, though, here.
no, even a regular day is still difficult for O'Brien.
This is the only time we've seen any sort of cathartic release for O'Brien. And we're how many seasons in?
It's the end of the 6th season. Yeah, and the person who was essentially acting as a therapist for him had to arrange her funeral later on that day.
Oh, that's awful. Thanks for helping me with my problems. Now I'll have some stuff to say at your wake.
He is always the guy that has to deal with funerals. He was the only guy that turned up to Munez's wake in the ship. Well, the Worf turned up later. I suppose the engineering staff get killed so often. O'Brien is probably a very experienced. I don't know if there's a word for a person that does funeral proceedings.
Probably. I don't know.
Well, he's one of them. Before we get too depressed, there was also a hilarious B-plot with Quark and Odo and Jake.
Was it hilarious? I think I missed that.
Wasn't really hilarious, but it had its own charm. We got to see how Quark and Odo are so far under each other's skin that they both wind each other up and lead each other on constantly.
I'm glad that Odo let Quark win for once. Without Quark's knowing.
It was just a power play. He just likes Quark being under his thumb. He doesn't want to send him to prison. Then that would be the end of the game.
He'd have nothing to do. He would be so bored.
This B-plot went in a slightly different direction from what I thought it was going to do. Or rather, I thought there was going to be a little sort of twist that never appeared.
Which is what?
When Quark and Jake are in the cargo bay inspecting the merchandise, Quark has this monologue, this sort of rose-tinted history of him and Odo, which doesn't quite seem very factual. I expected that later on it would turn out that Jake wrote that monologue for him.
Oh, yeah, tie it back to the whole writing thing.
So he could give it knowing that Odo would snoop in and feel guilty. Because that would fit with Quark. He definitely would emotionally manipulate people. He's done it plenty of times before. Like there isn't any standard he won't stoop below in the name of profit.
Oh, of course not. An opportunity is an opportunity. And if that's not a rule of acquisition, I'll be surprised.
Speaking of rules of acquisition, we got number 285 again. No good deed ever goes unpunished. Which is the last rule.
Oh, right. I forgot how many there were. I knew that it was somewhere around there. Except it was exactly around there.
Yes, that's it. That's the last one. That's been mentioned before in season 2.
Sure, why not? Sounds right.
So, if you want to hear us discuss it, go and listen to our podcast for the episode Collaborators, where we possibly discussed it. I don't know. We might have.
I hope we didn't, and then you send people there for no reason.
I love giving people the runaround. Whilst you're watching that podcast, or listening to it anyway, listen to all of the other ones several times.
just to make sure.
A little bit of trivia, if you want some trivia.
Always.
The part of Lisa Cusack was auditioned on voice only,
That makes sense.
and none of the actors were allowed to meet her.
Nice.
So none of them actually knew what she looked like. Well, until after filming wrapped.
And then they found she was dead in the booth.
No, she'd been in the booth for 3 years, 2 months. I always wonder if doing things like that kind of like method acting almost, I always wonder if that actually changes anything.
I bet it does.
You think it does?
Yeah, because when you see someone, you instantaneously come up with preconceptions about them before they even open their mouth. And to not even have that happen and only experience this person through voice, you would form different opinions about them. It's so strange. This doesn't really happen now because of the exposure that bands have. Well, for me anyway. But I remember listening to bands, having no idea what they look like, and then finally seeing them and thinking, that's not what they look like. That is strange.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, for example, you maybe imagined the character of Lisa Cusack as a certain face, perhaps, or say a certain race. And if you look up the actress, you'll find out what race or ethnicity or whatever she is. It might surprise you.
Now I'm curious because I do have a mental image of her and I haven't looked her up.
Well, I can reveal it if you want.
Okay.
It's actually a 45-year-old Mexican man.
That is surprising.
No, that's not true, actually. No, she's African American.
See, I didn't even pick up on that.
Did you imagine she was Caucasian?
Yeah, my mental imagery is racist.
Well, I don't know. You maybe kind of fill yourself in the blanks. Or also, Star Trek does have quite a lot of white captains. Well, I mean, if you push Cisco out the way, pretty much all the other ones are white. And
Thanks for excusing my racism.
Well, this podcast got very racially tense. It's almost a shame she died. She is more interesting than some of the characters on the show. She's sort of witty, funny, insightful.
That's how you knew she was going to die. She was too useful.
Yeah, I suppose. So you're saying if you want to live through it all, just be absolutely useless?
Not absolutely useless, but you have to have tremendous flaws. Lisa is built up as this sort of perfect captain.
Yeah, she's kind of a survivor character. She can get through anything. And then, yeah, turns out she can't survive 3 years without oxygen.
It would be kind of funny if she were horribly racist.
What?
Wait, who am I talking to? I'm talking to a Bajoran? Please get someone else. I do not speak with Bajorans.
So she had a massive character flaw.
Yeah, something.
And then she could survive the 3 years without oxygen or food. I was on the verge of death, but then my overwhelming prejudice kept me alive.
Or how about she died because of her overwhelming prejudice? She could have listened. She didn't want to listen to Bashir, and so she didn't ration out her injections or whatever she had.
How could she be prejudiced when she could only hear their voices?
She would ask everyone to identify before they speak.
But they wouldn't do that, or the first person that got kicked off, they would just say, yeah, don't say you're the same species or race as me.
She has well-trained racist ears, and she would know just
Stop
from
trying to give her
their
character
voices.
flaws. We're not doing the quotes yet, but there's a nice quote from the director about the episode.
Oh,
You can find a lot of these on the wiki, but almost all of them are not really worth reading. Well, it's usually just like, yeah, I think this episode turned out really well, or no, that one was really bad.
I avoid that stuff for fear of spoilers, but go ahead.
The director, Winrich Kolbe, Kolb, I don't know how to say his name, said, how do you see the moon? You see it because something else, the sun, puts out light that illuminates it. And in the sound of her voice, a voice illuminates the characters on the Defiant.
Wow, that's really insightful.
It's kind of a really lovely way of thinking about it.
That's poetic and beautiful. I mean, I'm glad you read that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, most of them are nowhere near that insightful. But yeah, so the point of having this brilliant character is to reflect on the flaws of the Defiant crew. And she did. That's one of the things we just talked about right up front, was she pointed out all the stuff that we've been poking at them for so many episodes.
And she didn't talk to Dax because the episode would come to a screeching halt.
I shouldn't talk to Dax because Terry Farrell was not available for filming for some of this episode.
Oh, did she have some awful sickness and then I'm going to feel like a jerk?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm not her parent. I didn't have to write her
Where
a
was your
note.
child on this night?
Sometimes characters don't show up for episodes. It's really bad with O'Brien. He disappears for like 4 or 5 episodes at a time because he does quite a lot of movies. Colmini does.
He's easy to explain away. He's off fixing something. Dax, what was she doing?
She has so little to do that when she doesn't do anything, it stands out.
She has 7 lifetimes worth of stories and conversational skills to rely upon to talk to this woman. If anyone should be talking to her, it should be Dax.
Well, maybe she did, and it's not in the episode because it was uneventful, and they only show us the exciting bits.
Or she's prejudiced against Trills.
Who could be prejudiced against Trills? No one cares enough about Trills to be prejudiced against them.
They're not even worth being prejudiced against?
Yeah, pretty much. Some of the writing team were disappointed with the episode as well. That's another thing that it says on the wiki.
Wait, why?
They wanted the concept of her having been dead the whole time to be the sort of focus, the sort of time travel mystery thing, rather than just a strange sort of twist.
But why?
Why? I don't know, because they thought that was better and they love themselves. People are allowed to have opinions. I think it turned out really well. So
It did turn out well.
Well, then it's a consensus. They're wrong.
I thought it was a nice change of pace where the time travel element is a tiny part of it and not the focus for once.
It was a good change of pace. It's kind of a quiet episode. Quiet before the storm. Because the next episode's the last of the season, and I imagine something will happen. I don't know. Well,
They
I do
have
know,
all
but
been storms.
this episode was very introspective. It's like the point in the video game where you get into a room where there's loads of health and guns and stuff, and you think, uh-oh, what's in the next room?
And there's a save point.
Yeah. Well, do you have a quote from the show.
No one involved in an extra-legal activity thinks of himself as nefarious.
That's true, and Jake's writing is particularly poor if he's writing characters that actually think they are bad guys.
Yeah. Everyone is the hero of his or her own story, and Jake should know that.
But Jake's not the hero of his story. His dad is the hero of his story.
He's a side character in his own film, in his mind.
It seems that way sometimes.
But Jake is carving his own path. He didn't go into Starfleet. He's becoming a writer. He's hanging out in bars.
Mixing with people of ill repute.
His BFF is a Ferengi.
Wait, you talking about Nog or Quark?
Nog, but it works for this episode to say Quark.
Hey, it's just having some Uncle Quark fun. Okay, in terms of the quote, though, it's very good to have evil characters that are good in their context.
Such as Duquette. He thought he was awesome and that he was doing a great thing.
Well, kind of. Well, he, although his context makes no sense, so he kind of probably does think of himself as nefarious. I think Kai Wynn would be a better example. She
yeah.
thinks she's a great person in some sense. As if you could just see it from her point of view, you would understand why she's doing these things and how it's going to all be great in the long run.
And she's so frustrated when people don't follow what she says. I'm the hero. Listen to me. I will save the day.
It's also nice to have bad guys that are just crazy, though. I think early Ducat is more a legitimate hero. The Ducat we've seen recently is kind of just angry, screaming psychopath.
Yeah, that covers it.
Where is that guy?
Gambling his life savings.
He doesn't have any life savings. Last we saw him, he was mucking about on a shuttlecraft that he nicked from Cisco.
Maybe we'll find out in the next episode.
It's quite likely that the cat will be in the next episode.
Would be weird if he's not.
Well, feasibly he could not be, but he's one of the primary antagonists, and it's the season finale, so you might want to put your Decat hat on when you're watching the next episode.
How did you know about my Decat hat?
Because we had the Decat hat chat.
That chat about my Decat hat was
All that?
Yes, it was all
Okay,
that.
right, the next episode. Right, we're done.
All right.